Hello, this next lecture is on Bruner's theory of cognitive development. At this point, you should have watched a lecture on Piaget as well as Vygotsky, and so this lecture is going to talk about Bruner. So if you haven't watched the other lectures, stop here, go back and watch those really fast, and come back to this one. Bruner agreed with Piaget. He agreed that the underlying cognitive structures do mature over time, and then a child can think about and organize the world in an increasingly complex way. He agreed that children were active and curious and exploratory, and that they adapt to their environment through interaction. He also agreed that action and active experience was essential to develop abstract thought. At the same time, Bruner differed from Piaget, but was very similar to Vygotsky. He stresses the role of language and interpersonal communication. He emphasized the need for active involvement by experts, or what is referred to in Vygotsky's theory as the more knowledgeable other. Bruner also thought that instruction was an essential part of the learning process and was natural in educational settings. Bruner's theory includes 3 modes of representation rather than stages. As you can see here, the 3 modes are inactive, iconic, and symbolic. Bruner felt like knowledge and understanding took these 3 different forms. In the inactive mode, a baby would represent their world through their actions, similar to the sensory motor stage from Piaget's theory. Knowledge is stored as muscle memory. For example, a baby may carry on shaking their arm even if when you take the rattle away. They thought the arm movement was making the noise. Our knowledge for motor skills, like riding a bike, are represented in the inactive mode. They become automatic through repetition. Like Piaget, Bruner sees the onset of object permanence and felt like that was a major qualitative change in the way a child thinks. The next stage is iconic mode. This is where knowledge can be represented through visual or auditory images or icons. The baby can represent the rattle as a visual image, so now it's an independent thing. Therefore, the baby has developed object permanence. A child's thinking at this point is dominated by images, and things are as they look in this mode. Symbolic mode. Like Piaget, Bruner saw the major changes that happen at 6 and 7 years old when language starts to influence thought. At this point, their thought is not so dominated by an appearance of things. They can think beyond images and use symbols such as words or numbers. At this stage, information can be categorized and summarized and be more readily manipulated. In Bruner's theory, development involves mastery of increasingly more complex modes of thinking, from inactive to symbolic. As children acquire skills, they become automatic and become units that can be combined to build upon a new set of skills or behaviors. Learning is not a gradual process, more like a staircase with sharp steps up. The environment, rather than age, is what slows down or accelerates learning in Bruner's theory. Also in Bruner's theory is explained cultural differences, by suggesting that people from different cultures make sense of their experiences in different ways because of the differences in the society in which they live. So children internalize their surrounding culture. For example, the categorization structures for birds may be different in the United States and Africa, because in the United States, you might see a sparrow often, and that becomes your iconic representation of a bird. But in Africa, you may see an ostrich more often, and that becomes your iconic representation of a bird. In summary, although everyone grows through these stages, often each person will have a preference for the way that they learn, either inactively, iconically, or symbolically, or physical learners versus visual learners versus auditory learners. A second important piece is the mediation piece. Learners have to have experiences that are mediated by an important other in order for things to make sense, where they're using language to focus, to sharpen, clarify, emphasize, apply, and even provide context for information that the child is learning. Please write down any questions you have and have them ready for class.